Welcome to the Augmentation of Man with Kent and Renee Miller, where we are bringing the future. And we're continuing in our series of the coming changes. And this is going to be really, I think when it gets down to it, we're talking about the shift. But it describes perfectly the events going on today.
Okay.
So this helps us to understand all the craziness that's going on in our world right now.
Yeah. Well, the things that are coming into Earth, the displacement of the electromagnetic field and things like that are affecting some of the population.
So we have recent changes within our electromagnetic field. It's weakening. And I'm assuming that maybe there's a shift in the flow of the electromagnetic field as a result of that weakening, but I don't know for sure.
Well,
but it's releasing. We're told it's releasing this energy that has an effect on a few people, right?
Concentrated energy.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have concentrated energy, it accelerates those that it concentrates on their ideologies.
So it's magnifying the ideologies of
a lot bigger than what
a few people. It just seems to have an effect on some people, and it has
some groups.
Yeah, but it's so small. It's not, in comparison to the totality of the population of the world. It's a small group of people, but it's having a profound effect on the events going on today. Because of their behavior, their negative
disruption
behavior.
And chaos and things of that nature, which is a negative, and we view it a negative behavior.
Mm-hmm. And it causes a lot of stress in the population. These people are eventually causing patterns of disruption and disorientation throughout societies. And it's not just the United States, this is going on all over the globe.
Worldwide.
Yeah. So this gives rise to a pervasive provocation through a magnification of their perceptions that have a caustic effect on other people.
Yeah, it all causes things to turn up, what we call upside down here on Earth. It just dissolves consciousness and communication and being of higher vibration. It dissolves all that. You can't achieve any of that.
Mm-hmm. So the creative force is the underlying force within the universe that promulgates universal consciousness. It promotes it, expands universal consciousness. And this has an effect on that creative force where it creates this dampening effect where it's suppressing that the creative force that is there in the background trying to nudge us forward in our conscious evolution. So this whole series of events is like dragging everyone down.
The mathematical formula came out of this. P is greater than Q squared. If P being the perception and Q being the quality of the perception squared.
So this is a mathematical formula that was given to us. And, sometimes the guides are creative in the way that they deliver their message. So P is greater than Q squared, meaning what the guide was trying to relay to us, we believe, is that the perception is being magnified to a greater extent than the quality of the understanding, perpetuating these ideologies of a few, and it's creating this painful viewing of disruptive events playing out all over the earth.
Hologram distortion. Many people that we've run into say we live in a hologram. This is a hologram. We don't have what reality really is behind this hologram. And as these events occur, the geomagnetic field it will cause a distortion in the hologram, in what we think we see. We might see what was really out here.
It's really there.
Really in front of us.
So the hologram really is the distortion in the way we view our world, because we're being told that things are not as we see them. We've been programmed to look at everything playing out here in a certain way. So there's some sort of movement within the geometric field that underlies, it's the vibrational field that we can't see, but that determines everything, you know, what we see, what we view, the matter, and it's creating this distortion in the hologram, either in reality, or it's creating this distortion, allowing us to see what is really there.
Does that mean then we create our own field, our own environment? We create everything around us? So if you want to create chaos, disruption, exception of self, or if you want to create everything looks wonderful, you tend to create that. That is an interesting concept.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it really is how we view our world, and it gets back to 100% our perception. And so we're going to get into perception a little bit more.
Well, the thing is, outside entities entities outside of Earth will help us to understand a lot of this, maybe hologram perception.
Well, the painful events
playing out, which could be part of the hologram. Well, they say it is part of the hologram, so that'll all be explained to us when we're ready.
So these outside entities at a later point will help us. The word that they used is replate the understanding. Like you're creating a whole new understanding of what has occurred, because we really won't understand it completely, and we will need help.
No, we have to come to a complete understanding before we can even attain a vibrational
attunement,
uprising or understanding.
So we get back to, everybody talks about, you know, they want to go to a higher vibration, or they want to talk to a higher vibrational entity. But I think very few people understand that vibration directly relates to levels of understanding. So if you want to raise your vibration, you have to expand your understanding. So as we learn from these other outside entities, what is really happening here, as all these painful events are playing out, we grow in our level of understanding, and that is what qualifies us for a higher vibrational attunement. You can't receive your attunement to a higher vibration unless you have a significant understanding of that event.
Yeah, eventually, when we begin to understand the events around us and what is happening, then we will probably understand that ideologies, these group ideologies, are a destructive measure that creates misery in the world.
Yeah, and also this chaos is going to continue before we can be able to achieve the higher self. Before we can have that reconnection with the higher self, we have to go through this chaos. Then we have to learn from it. In retrospect, go back through the events and be taught a new understanding before we can have that reconnection with our higher self.
Well, mankind, through so-called free will, will bring ourselves, humanity, to the precipice of annihilation. And hopefully, once you understand when you come to the almost annihilation, you understand that these ideologies are worthless.
So we're going to push ourselves to the brink of self-annihilation to prove to ourselves once and for all that ideologies are useless in our attempt to bring clarity to who we are, why we are here, and what angle we want to learn from. So we can, be polarized, choose to be polarized, but you're not going to see the whole picture. So we may choose to, okay, I need to move myself back to more of a central point of view, that angle, so that I can see a wider perspective and a greater understanding.
But people are feeling constricted.
Mm-hmm.
And in this thought of being constricted in the middle of this whole process of trying to find clarity within yourself or around you, it causes confusion and misunderstanding.
But this whole period of feeling like you're being constricted, and in reality, I think a lot of people with this pandemic feel like they're being constricted, right? Yeah. You've lost your freedom, you're in your home.
But as I had stated earlier, define freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's going to define it differently. Define freedom that you think what it means, and then look at your meaning. Write it down, and then look at what you just defined freedom as, and look at it through a positive lens.
This whole feeling of really feeling constricted is going to occur in the midst of our process of bringing clarity to who we are at the soul level and why we're here. What is the purpose of life? What is the purpose of all of this? And it happens during this period of time. So even though we are living in very stressful times where everything seems to be upside down and left is right, and nothing seems to make sense, there is a spiritual journey and an acceleration of our growth and understanding that is occurring to get us to the next level, a new vibrational attunement as we approach the reconnection with the higher self and moving into this next cycle where we're going to be taking a quantum leap forward in learning and expanding our spiritual and conscious evolution.
Yeah, well, the thing is, when you have a higher vibration, not the vibration you think you have now, with a higher vibration, it does protect us to some degree, gives us a protective shield.
Mm-hmm.
So when this shift occurs, and the shift occurs when man has obsession with the self.
With himself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And man does have an obsession with himself. And right now, as we look and see what's going on.
So this shift is a shift in our consciousness. It's a movement of the higher self to a new and higher vibration and a new learning field, a higher learning field.
So you'll get out of the perception, I'm everything, I'm number one, all that. You'll get out of that concept.
The ego.
Yeah.
Moving out of the ego.
That's right.
And so we will begin to understand what the real purpose of life is here. And it will help us to refocus on the learning path. This is an experiential learning field. We are here for the learning, and each event that is presented to us is for our reflection and to grow in our conscious evolution.
Yeah, we're still not done with perception, even though we're trying to get into a new level of consciousness. Our perception still hangs on, and this chaos creates a destruction. It's trying to create the destruction of our perceptive values, the way we perceive things.
That we hold on very tightly to, you know, that we value the way that we look at things, and it's trying to break all that down. So these changes are going to accelerate, and it's going to create a lot of panic in people who are not in tune with what is really going on. They don't really understand what's going on. It's going to create a lot of panic in those people. And that does not bode well for our immune system during this time.
Yeah.
So the higher vibration is a more expanded understanding of what is going on. And in that, it controls the amount of stress hormones our body is releasing, which has an effect on the immune system. So we can, by understanding the events before us, we can calm down a bit. We understand what's happening, even though we may not like it. Then that helps our immune system to work a little better.
Yeah, and we can't, right now, Earth changes, and Earth is changing and going up in vibrational value, and we can't, and we're like chasing it in a way. We cannot change our vibrational pattern until Earth changes are complete. But we can start trying to move it up with the Earth changes.
Yes, so we cannot create balance and align ourselves without attuning to the Earth. And if the Earth is in the midst of change, we can't attune to it.
We watch these different things going on, and these Earth changes. Do not get overwhelmed with what is going on. You can increase your value of vibration to a point of some protection, which will allow you to maintain your pattern with Earth shifts, as Earth does shift, and Earth will shift. So remember, this will all be good at the end. It will all bring hope. It will all bring orderly fashion of self and those things around you. And we will be outside of our hologram, which we think is a hologram. We will be able to see the reality of what's really happening. So
and we'll be refocused on our true path.
So all things are good. These are, even though we look at it and say, oh my God, look, Seattle's burning and Portland's burning and all this. Let this play out, because it's part of the vibrational shift and part of our learning if we decide we want to learn.
And the last thing that we want to leave you with is that order succeeds for long periods of time depending on the completeness of the chaos. So the chaotic event is meant for us to learn from, and these events are destroying our perceptions. So it will help shift us in our vibration to a new understanding. It's also going to shift that hologram so that we view our world in a much different way.
So we hope this will help you understand the 12th chapter in book 1 and be able to look
at study in Renaissance.
Yeah, and look at it from a different perspective that you have looked at things that are going on right now. So that is from a Study in Renaissance series.
It's the Augmentation of Man series.
Augmentation of Man series. Here I got the meditations. I can't even remember the name of the books. But to me, the second book, which is the
Acquiescence of Humanity.
If you actually read that one first, then you understand. Actually, read the second book first. You'll understand the first book better.
It's about our origins and our connection to other life outside the Earth. It's about our DNA upgrade and where we're going as a human race. So
yeah, remember all of this, because Earth is an experimental lab.
And we're a part of it. we chose to be a part of it.
So thanks for joining us.
And as always, peace be with you on your journey to enlightenment. Have a good week. Bye-bye now.